Hi, so I thought I would take this week's Money Stories podcast to tell you the money story of the Money Coach Training Program. I actually think it's a pretty cool story how this all came about, and I also thought I would take this week to tell you a little bit about my money story and how I became interested in personal finance. And personal finance from an authentically Catholic perspective, which is a whole different perspective that I've only kind of started really recently delving into. I am a military spouse. My husband and I have been married for 14 years, and he's a really cute Air Force pilot. And we have 4 kids, ages 13 to 7. We also have a golden retriever, so we are just a typical American family. And my money story started when we were about a year and a half into our marriage. My husband was going to be deploying, and we had a baby at home. We were expecting number 2. And I was just getting bored. My baby was a good sleeper. He was just a good baby. And I knew that I wasn't going to be going back to work. My husband was about to deploy. We were about to have another baby. So going back to work wasn't an option, but I was just so bored. And my husband said, "Have you ever heard of this organization called Navy Marine Corps Relief Society?" I had heard of them, but I hadn't really given them much thought. And he said, "Well, they're looking for volunteers and they pay for childcare. So maybe you should go in there and see if you can help out, maybe get out of the house a couple of days a week." So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And it also gave me a chance to meet some other military spouses and kind of make some friends. And working at Navy Marine Corps Relief Society really opened my eyes as to the impact that financial stress could have on someone. I'd have these big, strong Marines come in and sit down in front of me, and they'd be requesting some kind of financial assistance. And there would be several times where they would just break down in tears because the financial stress was just so weighing on them. It would really be impactful to me to see how stressed out they were because they couldn't make their bills, or maybe they made a bad decision, or they didn't have an emergency fund and an emergency happened. So that was a really impactful experience that I had at Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. I was then given the opportunity through a scholarship to earn my AFC designation, and that stands for Accredited Financial Counselor. So I started taking classes in financial wellness and financial counseling, and kept with Navy Relief and volunteered with them for several more years. And eventually my husband decided to make a career change, and we were going to be moving back home to Las Vegas. And at that point, I was just looking online. My babies were all in school full time, and my husband was going to be home for a couple months before his new position started. And I found a position with a government contract working with veterans. And I said, maybe I want to go back to work. And so we talked with the employer, and the position was very flexible. So I ended up getting hired on this government contract, and it was a beautiful experience. I was able to work with veterans as a financial fitness coach. I was able to earn another designation, and eventually I moved up to program management and the leadership and training team of this government contract. So it was a great experience. I love my veterans. They have really impacted my outlook on financial wellness and how, again, financial stress can affect these really strong people who served our country. It was just a really great experience. So as this government contract was coming to a close, I knew I wanted to start linking my professional experience with my faith, with my Catholic faith. So I reached out to Jon and Evelyn Bean at Compass Catholic Ministries, and I asked, what does this faith-based financial wellness world look like? What's involved? How can I be of service? And they said they'd actually been praying to start a money coaching ministry at Compass Catholic. And they asked if I would be willing to start that ministry. So I talked about it with my husband. We did some praying, and it kind of spoke to our hearts. And so we said, okay. This is going to be my next career move. So we started building this money coach training program in April of 2019, and it was definitely a labor of love. It was, many hours on the computer, just starting from scratch, using best practices from other programs, pulling things out from all these different resources, and saying, what do we need that's specific to Compass Catholic, and building those things from scratch. So it was months of work and testing and all these different things that we did to get this money coach training program ready to go and ready to roll out to Catholic parishes. And so we started, like I said, in April of 2019, and it was ready to go to the publisher in March of 2020. And then COVID happened. We thought when we were going to be rolling out this ministry that we were going to have to convince people how financially fragile they were, or that they were walking a financial tightrope, or that not having an emergency fund could be impactful should an emergency happen. And so we thought we were going to be spending all this time building the case, but then COVID built it for us. And it's incredibly sad that this has happened. And we are heartbroken for all those folks. We just count ourselves blessed that we were able to have this placed on our hearts back in 2019, and that we were working on it with something was motivating us. And I don't know what it was. And I really think it was the Holy Spirit that was putting this in our hearts to keep going, keep building this program. Those late nights of realizing that we were down the wrong rabbit hole and having to tear things out and restart from scratch. I really think that was the Holy Spirit that was placing this in our hearts to get this going, so we can be here to support Catholic parishes and support Catholics move forward by having access to a money coach training program. So the money coach training program will train, certify, and provide ongoing support for Compass Catholic money coaches. If this is something you feel your parish would benefit from, having access to a trained and certified money coach who you know is not selling any financial goods or services to your parishioners, then I recommend you go to compasscatholic.org. One of our prerequisites for being a money coach is that you have participated in one of our pre-approved Compass Catholic Bible studies. So if you've not yet, we recommend you start with signing up for a Faith and Money Matters Bible study online. And if you've already participated in one of our pre-approved Bible studies, then at that point you are eligible to sign up for the Money Coach Training Program. We are just so grateful that, like I said, this was placed on our hearts months ago. There was something that was pulling us through those late nights of writing out this program and realizing that things weren't right and reshaping it and reworking it. And I really, at this point, feel like it was the Holy Spirit keeping us motivated and keeping us working towards this program that we are now able to launch and hopefully help Catholic parishes and help Catholics rebuild to financial wellness. So that's our money story for this week. Thank you for listening, and God bless.
For more information about Compass Catholic Ministries, including the various Bible studies and services that we offer, please visit compasscatholic.org. If you enjoy money stories, please share it with a friend. You may also like Compass Catholic's other podcast, Manage Your Money God's Way, available wherever you get your podcast. If you have any comments about today's show or suggestions for future shows, please email us at info@compasscatholic.org. Thanks for listening, and God bless.